You know that moment when the house suddenly feels different?
Yeah.
Quieter.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little too quiet sometimes.
Yeah.
It's that point when the kids are really properly gone, flown the coop. And you're kind of standing there in what used to be, chaos central.
Right. The empty nest, it hits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So today, we're going to take a proper look at this whole transition, what it actually means, and maybe more importantly, how it can actually be a launch pad for some, well, really interesting personal growth, a chance to reshape things.
Mm-hmm. We've been digging into quite a bit on this, looking at everything from like the emotional roller coaster people might go through to
Huh.
some really concrete, practical ideas for, navigating this new chapter.
It's such a common life stage, isn't it?
Okay.
But everyone's journey through it feels so personal.
It really is unique to each person, yeah.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive is to really sift through all that, pull out the key takeaways for you, the insights that can help someone build a really fulfilling, dynamic lifestyle now that things are quieter at home. Right. Let's start right at the beginning then.
Yeah.
What does the actual onset, the kickoff of this empty nest phase usually look like?
Well, typically it revolves around those big milestones,
Yeah.
kids heading off to university, maybe starting their first proper job, or even starting families of their own.
Yeah, those big leaving moments.
Exactly. And they are, of course, moments where you feel immense pride seeing them take those big independent steps.
Oh, absolutely. You get that huge wave of pride. And then maybe you get home and there's just this undeniable shift in the air. It's not just straightforward sadness, is it?
No, not at all. The feelings are usually pretty complex, actually. You might feel a sense of relief, believe it or not, more time, more freedom, maybe.
Right.
But that often sits right alongside that feeling of loss,
Hmm.
missing the daily buzz, the routines, the interactions that really define family life for, well, decades sometimes.
Hmm.
And what's really interesting is how this period often makes parents kind of step back and reevaluate their own identity, an identity that's been so wrapped up in being mom or dad for so long.
Yeah. The role itself changes.
The whole family dynamic just naturally goes through a pretty major transformation. It has to.
Which sort of brings us neatly to this idea we hear about empty nest syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
What's the real story behind that term? Is it a clinical thing?
That's a good question. Empty nest syndrome basically describes those feelings of sadness, maybe loneliness, a sense of loss that some parents feel when the kids move out.
Okay.
But it's interesting, while the name sounds a bit like a diagnosis, a lot of the research, including some really important work by Corinne Rubenstein and Philip Shaver, suggests it's maybe more accurate to see it as a transition period.
So not necessarily a syndrome for everyone.
Exactly. It comes with a whole spectrum of emotional responses rather than being a specific condition for most people. Their work really highlights that this time often calls for a period of, self-reflection and being ready, emotionally ready, to kind of redefine yourself.
So it's not just about missing the kids day to day, but it's also this bigger task of figuring out, okay, who am I now outside of that really central parenting role?
Precisely. Yeah. Rubenstein and Shaver's research actually showed something quite specific. They found that parents who sort of proactively dove into self-reflection and actually identified at least 3 new personal goals within that first year after the kids left.
Okay.
They reported much higher levels of life satisfaction compared to parents who didn't really do that.
Wow, that's quite concrete. 3 new goals.
Yeah, it really points to how important it is to consciously take that energy, that focus that maybe went into the kids and reinvest it back into your own interests and maybe into other relationships you have outside the parent-child one.
Okay, right. So understanding the feelings, knowing you might need to redefine things, that's crucial groundwork. But then what are some actual practical things someone can do to really, thrive in this new phase? Not just cope, but thrive.
Yeah, and this is where it gets quite exciting, I think. One really powerful approach is simply reconnecting with hobbies or interests. Things you might have loved doing but just got pushed aside during their super busy family years.
The things that went on the back burner.
Exactly. Think back to stuff you genuinely enjoyed. Maybe it was painting or creative writing, playing music, gardening, even something like collecting things. Getting back into those passions can bring a huge amount of joy and a renewed sense of purpose.
I like that idea of reconnecting with a sort of a past version of yourself, a part that maybe got a bit buried under packed lunches and school runs.
Totally.
So besides hobbies, what other proactive steps can people take to build that fulfilling life.
Well, building new social connections is also really key. I mean, with the kids gone, the amount of just daily chatter and interaction in the house naturally drops off, right?
Yeah, definitely quieter.
So, this can be a great time to actively seek out new relationships. Maybe join a club focused on one of those hobbies we just mentioned, or take a workshop, volunteer somewhere in the community.
Ah, okay. These kinds of things can put you in touch with people who share your current interests, your current lifestyle, and help you build new friendships.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about sort of consciously filling that social space, but with connections that fit who you are now.
Mm.
And what about looking after ourselves? Health and wellness.
Oh, absolutely vital. Yeah. With the potentially a bit more time on your hands, really focusing on your physical and mental health is a huge opportunity.
Right.
Getting regular exercise, whether that's joining a gym, taking up running, or even just walking more, it has such a big impact on your mood, your energy levels.
Yeah, you definitely feel better when you move more.
And things like mindfulness or meditation, maybe trying yoga, they can be incredibly helpful for your mental well-being too. Managing stress, finding a bit more calm.
It's almost like taking all that caring energy you poured into the kids and turning some of it back towards yourself.
That's a great way to put it. Exactly.
Hmm.
And, that extends to learning too,
Hmm.
embracing lifelong learning.
Well, think about enrolling in a class, maybe learning a new language, or finally digging into a subject that's always fascinated you but you never had time for.
Ah, like that history course you always meant to take.
Right. Not only does it keep your mind sharp and engaged, but it's another fantastic way to meet people who are curious about the same things you are.
That's a brilliant point. It's about growth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Staying plugged into the world.
Hmm.
Now, okay, for people who have the means and the flexibility, what about travel? Does that play a role?
Oh, travel can be amazing during this phase. Really transformative for some, whether it's just a weekend trip to a town nearby or, a bigger adventure further away.
Yeah.
Just stepping outside your usual routine, experiencing new places, new cultures, it can give you such fresh perspective. It can really reignite a sense of adventure that might have faded a bit.
Breaking the routine, seeing something new. Yeah, I can see that. It's a great way to mark the new chapter.
Definitely. Create some new memories just for you or you and your partner.
So those are some really solid practical ideas, but I know sometimes people take slightly more unexpected routes, right? Any sort of outside the box ideas that came up.
Yeah, a few interesting ones. One is maybe starting a blog or even a vlog, like a video blog.
Oh, interesting.
It can be a really great creative outlet, a way to sort of document your own experiences as an empty nester, share what you're learning, and you might even connect with a whole online community of people going through the same thing.
That's actually a really nice idea, turning your own experience into something helpful for others. What else? Any other unconventional thoughts?
Well, for some people, the quiet can feel really quiet. They might miss the daily companionship. In those cases, adopting a pet could be a really rewarding option.
A furry friend.
Yeah. Animals can bring so much joy, unconditional love. And they definitely bring back a sense of routine and purpose to your day, someone to look after again, but maybe with less homework involved.
That's a lovely thought. A pet certainly changes the energy in a house, brings that connection. Okay, now you mentioned earlier there were some surprising insights from the research, things that maybe go against the common narrative.
Yes, definitely. What's really striking is that study after study actually shows that for a lot of parents, maybe even the majority, the empty nest transition is often felt as being more liberating than distressing.
Really?
Yeah.
Liberating. That's not usually the first word that springs to mind.
I know, right? While we often hear about the sadness, the data suggests many couples actually experience something researchers have called a second honeymoon period,
A second honeymoon. Okay, tell me more about that. That sounds pretty good.
doesn't it? Yeah. The idea is, with the kids out of the house, couples often find they suddenly have more quality time together, more energy for their own relationship.
Ah, okay. Less juggling.
Less juggling, exactly. They might rediscover shared interests, have more spontaneous moments, just generally deepen their connection in ways that maybe weren't possible during those really intense child rearing years.
That's a fantastic perspective, a chance to reinvest in the partnership itself.
It really is. The partnership might have understandably taken a bit of a back seat for a while.
That's really positive, actually. Very encouraging. And you also touched on technology. How does that fit into the modern empty nest?
Oh, massively. Modern communication tech has completely changed the game, hasn't it? It's just so much easier now for parents and kids to stay connected, even across huge distances.
Yeah, video calls, messaging.
Exactly. Video chats, instant messaging, seeing updates on social media, all these tools mean you can have ongoing communication, feel involved in each other's lives in a way that just wasn't possible before.
Mhm.
It kind of blurs the lines of physical absence.
So the connection doesn't have to fade. It just changes form, adapts.
Precisely. The relationship shifts, for sure. It often becomes a bit more like, well, peer to peer in some ways. But that emotional bond, that connection can absolutely stay strong and vibrant thanks to all these ways of staying in touch.
Okay, that makes sense. So as we start to kind of pull this all together, what's the main takeaway, the core message you'd want someone listening to really hold on to?
I think the most crucial thing, really, is to see the empty nest as genuinely a new beginning. It's not just something ending. It really is this amazing opportunity for self-discovery, for growth, and for actively deciding what a fulfilling, meaningful life looks like for you in this next exciting chapter.
So it's about actively embracing it, not just letting it happen to you, but intentionally building new routines, finding new connections, nurturing the relationships that matter.
Exactly that. Be proactive, own it, create the next great phase of your life.
Right. And maybe on that note, here's something final to chew on. With this extra time you might have now, and with the family dynamic shifting, think about this. What dreams, what aspirations that maybe got shelved years ago now actually have the room to breathe, the space to be explored? Or maybe there's a completely new path, a new interest that's been quietly calling your name. The empty nest could genuinely be the open door you've been waiting for. Thanks for diving deep with us today.